Mountain West men's basketball is getting a lot of national attention, and the Big Mountain wants to talk about it.
It's getting closer to March Madness, so we're back on the Big Mountain to keep you updated on Mountain West basketball.
Hey, we are doing something different on the Mountain, Steve. We are going to talk about basketball. We had a few comments at the end of the football season asking if we were going to do basketball. I said, no, we're only doing football. But here we are. We got to cover the Mountain West football. If you're new to the channel, I'm JY. This is my good friend Steve. We do all things Mountain West and Big Ten, usually football related, but we are going to dive into the Mountain West basketball just a little bit here because we're making headlines in the Mountain West. Yeah. We just did an episode about the Mountain West, and I'm cheering them on to become a more of a power. I hate to use that word because, you know, the Power 2, Power 5, but a more power conference in the West Coast. So I want to talk about this. The Mountain West has 3 ranked teams right now: Utah State, San Diego State, and New Mexico. Also, Boise State looking really good, at least for a bubble spot. And depending on what happens in these next couple games, they could be ranked here as well. And all 4 of these teams, you know, currently sitting 7-3 in conference play as we record this tonight. And the final month of this regular season should be absolutely outstanding in the Mountain West. A lot of fighting back and forth, a lot of games yet to be played in conference here. Also want to do a shout out to Colorado State. I'm wearing their shirt, but Colorado State Rams, the Nevada Wolfpack, they're also really strong. So, you know, we'll see how they can maybe make a splash moving forward into the conference and the national stage. But I want to preview a couple big games going into this weekend. The first one let's talk about. Friday, the Aztecs, San Diego State, traveling to Nevada, and the Wolfpack Aztecs right now sitting in 24th in the nation. Both teams coming into this game on a 2-game winning streak. The Aztecs are led by Ledee, averaging 20 points per game and over 8 rebounds per game. And the Wolfpack are led by guards Lucas and Blackshear. Should be a really good game. Aztecs looking to cement themselves as one of the top couple teams in the Mountain West, and Nevada trying to get up there. Trying to get up there into the top couple teams in the Mountain West. Should be a really good one on Friday. Then we got 2 matchups on Saturday that should be fantastic. We have UNLV traveling to the Lobos in New Mexico. New Mexico sitting in 25th right now in the national rankings. UNLV is 12-9 on the season, and they're going against a very strong New Mexico team, 19-4 on the season. The Lobos, a very balanced attack, winning 6 of their last 7 games. And UNLV comes in on a 3-game winning streak here, 3 games straight. So they also have a balanced attack. Should be a close game here. You know, I kind of like New Mexico at home here. They're taking the home team, but should be a good challenge for the Lobos. And then we also have Boise State traveling to Utah State, number 22 Utah State. I said Boise trying to crack the top 25. This should be the game of the weekend in the Mountain West. The Aggies beat the Broncos by 6. Back on January 27th, so Boise State trying to revenge that loss. But Utah State's coming into this off 2 straight losses. On a little bit of a slide after starting the season 19-2. They were up into the teens, nationally ranked. Have a little bit of a slide, so they got to get things back on track here for the Aggies. First-year coach Danny Sprinkle, again, looking to get the Aggies back on track. And, you know, we'll see what the Broncos can do. They are sitting right there to break into the top 25. So some awesome basketball here in the Mountain West. As I said, we just did a strategic plan video for the Mountain West just a couple days ago that broke. I'll make sure I put that on the end screen credits. We got a little crazy speculating on what the Mountain West could be in the next 3-ish years, specifically looking at 2026. But, you know, we are football focused here. This absolutely just any attention that you can get to the conference. So props to these basketball teams. ESPN's on top of it now. I just saw a recent article about them in ESPN making note of how strong the Mountain West is right now. So hoping for that to continue. Also, we got some awesome comments on that last video. And, you know, we mentioned I kind of did my cheering for a Fox media rights broadcast agreement. You know, another thing that we didn't really mention and really will be the new wave. We saw what came out with ESPN and Fox here recently, them trying to get together in terms of a streaming service. the Mountain West maybe taking advantage of the Pac failure in terms of streaming. Is that another avenue they can get to be on the forefront of what this streaming service media rights deal is going to be? That's really interesting. Also, some really good comments on other schools to take a look at. We were throwing schools all out. Had a really nice comment about Texas schools. I said UTEP, but another guy mentioned, and I thought these were great, Rice and UTSA, and just getting into that Texas market, which I completely agree with. I know that would be, taking away from another group of 5 school, but I think that Texas market would be very, very beneficial to the Mountain West.
Be killed.
Killer be killed, that's right. So, as we move forward with more discussions on NIL, more discussions on college football 2030, I'm going to keep kind of speculating on what the Mountain West might look like. I don't know if we'll do necessarily standalone episodes on that. Maybe we will, depending on how crazy I want to get with it. I know we like to stay on facts, but, that speculation was fun. We definitely got some really cool comments on that and what it could be. So something I'd like to maybe continue as we move through the offseason here. Steve, what are you thinking on basketball, though?
Well, first of all, I enjoyed that last Mountain West episode we did. Like you said, a lot of good conversation. Love reading all the comments.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, you're the Mountain West guy. I'm the Big Ten guy, but I've started to kind of fall in love with the Mountain West over the last year or so. And I didn't realize how much hate they had for apparently BY who.
Yes, right.
So sorry about that.
They have been divorced. And no looking
divorced.
back.
Yeah.
I do want to make a comment on that. I'll keep you going, but
Mormons.
I want to talk about them real quick because I do want to comment on that comment.
Yeah. So, anyways, but for me, I don't think the Mountain West gets enough attention. I don't think it gets enough coverage, especially from the national media. Yeah. So I enjoy this. I love giving them some more attention. It's a really solid basketball conference. Our intention originally was to keep this just football, and that's going to be 99.9% of our focus. But, how can you ignore this right now?
Right.
Mountain West having a great season in basketball. And like you said, it's great just publicity for the conference. If you're a Mountain West basketball fan, I think all 3 of those ranked teams, if they could finish out the season strong, you'd think that they would have a really good shot of all getting into the tournament.
Yeah.
San Diego State has a long history of being good in college basketball. So does New Mexico. And New Mexico, I've seen them play twice this year. Just basically, flipping through, and I see them on. We kind of joked about New Mexico this year a little bit in football.
Right.
But they have a really solid basketball program. Like you said, a really balanced team. To me, they're definitely going to get in the tournament, and they could make some noise depending on who they play if they get into the tournament. So I'm excited about them. I haven't seen Boise State play this year, so maybe I'll have to catch some of that Boise State-Utah game. Yeah. And so just a lot of really good basketball going on right now, and just great to focus on the Mountain West, give them some love, because I think they need more attention. As far as long-term strategic vision, you and I have talked off camera about a couple schools. We've been seeing different. There's a few different people we follow on Twitter that really look at this college expansion and realignment. They want to drill down to the numbers, okay? And so we've been following some of that, and so we talk about flagship universities, we talk about total attendance, we talk about viewership, whatever, size of the university budgets, size of athletic department budgets. And so 2 schools that have really jumped out to me that we were talking about were New Mexico and Wyoming. I really, especially in football, Wyoming I think has a great opportunity moving forward to just kind of invest in the program and get more national attention. New Mexico, I really think, when I was looking at some numbers of their overall school budget, they're the flagship university in the state of New Mexico. The size of their school, their size of their alumni base. If you could see them maybe just invest a little bit more into their athletic programs, they've got a great basketball program. I'd love to see their football program come up and match that. So I could definitely see over the next half of this decade, we've been talking about our college football 2030. So college athletics 2030 over the next half of this decade, if they could invest a little bit more, I think New Mexico is one of those schools that could have a big potential to grow both in basketball and college football.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And money kind of talks right now. Yeah. You're seeing the amount of money in terms of the Power 2 conferences that they're throwing around and yielding. And yes, the Mountain West is not going to be a Power 2 conference. I see people, it's kind of like if you're not a Power 2, what's the point in talking about you? Well, that's 75% of the rest of the daggone D1 program here. And so not to be forgotten, I am again a cheerleader for the Mountain West. I will continue to be. And yes, I understand the SEC, the Big Ten gets all the news and the big money. But a lot of great basketball and of course football in all of the other conferences, and that's why I like watching. Yes. I like watching them, and I like covering them because they're I hate to say it, but they're kind of forgotten. If you don't have the big names, you don't get the coverage.
And we've seen for so many years this East Coast bias. Now both of us we're East Coast guys,
yes.
And so we see it. The East Coast bias. If you're not in the Eastern time zone, the national media, you're second class citizen, or you're a second thought.
Yep.
So for me, there's a huge void in coverage for West Coast teams, the Mountain time zone and the Western time zone. And so I'm happy that we're in here just talking about these teams and giving them the coverage they deserve.
Well, I want to bring back BYU real quick,
okay,
and then we'll close out. BYU, I don't want to necessarily talk about them. I do want to talk about people's thoughts. And they brought up actually BYU and Colorado as they're a has-been, not a has-been, but we tried them, they moved on, we divorced, we hate BYU, all that kind of stuff. You can't have that mindset moving forward. Right? Different times, different values, different everything that we're talking about. And I get there's a divorce. People own that much closer than what I do at the time. But if you're going to be so focused on the past, you're never going to be able to move forward. So I just wanted to be like, I fully understand the emotion to that, but you can't let that drive you moving forward, or you will get left behind. You will not be, as I've been saying, the premier west side of the country conference because you're too worried about BYU's and Colorado this and Utah that and fill in the blank. You got to be for the here and the future, or the now and the future, and the past be the past. That's all I wanted to say to that.
Yeah, and I would like to add just a couple points. We are in a major, we've talked about this in the last episode and many episodes, we're at a major time of change for college athletics. Huge time. We've had episodes about Supreme Court cases, about NIL, about employees, athletes being employees, all that, conference realignment. We're at a huge time of change. Yeah. If for those who have followed our ACC episodes, I think it's getting more and more likely as we see there's a danger to the ACC to even exist going forward. I am still not sold on the Big 12. I think they made some good moves in the short term to just survive. I mean, when it looked like it was going to be between them and the Pac, one was going to survive, one was going to die. Obviously, the Pac died off, and they were able to survive. But I'm not sold on their long-term viability. I really think there's going to be some of those programs that may have second thoughts. And if you're, if it ends up where the Mountain West, especially if they're able to make some additions, we talked about Oregon State, we talked about Washington State. If we get to in the position 2-3 years down the road where the ACC has been blown up and picked apart, the Big 12 is struggling, and some of those schools start to have second thoughts. It just makes total sense for the Mountain West. They've got a great strategic vision. They have, kind of a lock on the West Coast at this point. Yeah. Other than, just those 3-4 teams that went to the Big Ten. Right. But, they really have a high-profile position. I think they could make themselves a very attractive landing spot for some of those Big 12 teams that maybe had second thoughts about the Big 12, former Pac teams that maybe might be looking for another home. So I don't think it's smart to alienate them. Yeah. So let's just say a Utah and a BYU, okay, just throw out a scenario. The Big 12 is starting to unravel, they're having second thoughts, and they're looking, okay, Mountain West, who maybe has Oregon State and Washington State now. Or we could join them. We could join the AAC, or what's left of the ACC that has all these East Coast private schools, small schools, whatever. Or they start looking around. I think it really behooves the Mountain West to position themselves as a good place for, and maybe you just pick off 2 of those schools. Right. Maybe not a bunch of them, maybe a couple. Yep. That would just be a good landing spot. So anyways, I agree with you. I didn't know there was the big hate with BYU, but if you, I think it's really smart for the Mountain West. I love their strategic vision going forward. I think their commissioner is great. I'm excited about this conference, and if they can make themselves an attractive place to pick off a couple of those, even better.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. We'll end this episode. We stay on all things Mountain West, all things Big Ten, all things Florida State lawsuit. Yeah. We'd like to pop out a good 3-4 episodes a week. Coming into the off season, I didn't know what we'd be talking about, and we are busier than ever. I got to be honest, I can't keep up with it at this point, Steve. So,
and all these other conferences are having all these problems. Court case, the Mountain West is just stable, just ascending that mountain.
Absolutely, yep. Keep using those words, ascend. Yeah. That's right, to the peak. We're going to the peak, at the peak. Anyway, hey, we thank you guys for watching. We're going to be staying on all this good stuff. Make sure you give us a like. Make sure you give us a subscribe. And with that, we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.